Hi everyone, and welcome inside Jones AT&T Stadium here in Lubbock, Texas, where ASU just dropped its Big 12 opener against the Red Raiders of Texas Tech, 30-22. Now, this is their first loss of the season as well. They were undefeated before today's game. But Chris, big picture, very broad spectrum. What did you think of today's game?
Yeah, they played poorly from the outset, missed a lot of opportunities throughout the game. Very uncharacteristic discipline issues from the outset. Offensively, this was not nearly the type of performance that I expected them to have. Texas Tech in a very pedestrian non-conference schedule, ranked outside the top 100 in all kinds of defensive categories: total defense, passing defense, rushing defense, and yet gave ASU problems. And between an inability to win at the point of attack, and then Sam Leavitt never really getting in any sort of a rhythm, those things coupled with the discipline issues led to a loss that really, in my opinion, ASU is probably a better football team. Definitely if they played on a neutral field, I feel like ASU would win more often than not. So this was a disappointing performance to see from the Sun Devils.
And you mentioned those discipline issues, a lot of them kind of coming in that first quarter, just very uncharacteristic penalties that we're not used to seeing them taking. In these past 3 weeks before today, they've been very together, very much on the same page. And Kenny Dillingham said that if you took those first 8-9 minutes out of the game, it could have been a completely different story. So can you just expand on those discipline issues that we saw?
Well, it started from the very first play. The kickoff out of bounds here right behind us around the 20-yard line, started Texas Tech on the 35. They had a 10-play drive that resulted in a touchdown. Then the following kickoff, ASU has an unsportsmanlike penalty, 15 yards or half the distance. They're backed up. And then it just kind of spiraled from there. They had Justin Watley had a face mask on a 3rd and 21. That should have been a punt. Instead, Texas Tech keeps the ball. The worst one of the game, probably the Miles Rouser penalty, where he taunted after he had a fantastic safety blitz. And you can't have those things happen. Like you're already playing in a hostile environment. It's going to be difficult to win in this sort of a setting, and they consistently put themselves behind the 8 ball. Kenny Dillingham, after the game, took the blame for it, said didn't really know exactly what were the main things that contributed to it. Maybe it was being in an energized environment like this, that they sort of fed off in the wrong way. I don't know, but that's not a good enough answer. Like they can't have those sorts of things happen. Maybe one play like that, but they had like 4 or 5. They responded decently well from that and didn't have a lot of those things throughout the rest of the game, but that was enough, coupled with the other issues that they had that we talked about.
And you mentioned that hostile environment as well. Kenny talked about it too. This was their first truly very loud 60,000 people here in the stadium for today's game. And I was down on field level the entirety of the game. It was very loud. And Sam Leavitt's a pretty young quarterback. Maybe he's not used to that. Texas State last week wasn't as hostile of an environment. And he's a young guy, maybe not used to that. And he had some trouble, and the offense as a whole really had some trouble just getting into a consistent rhythm. They couldn't really establish the run game. Some off-target passes. So what did you see in that aspect?
They were very disjointed, and kind of surprisingly so. I didn't think that ASU would have such a hard time establishing the line of scrimmage, getting into some of their successful run plays. Dillingham said that Cam Scadaboo, or whoever the running back wasn't in sync with offensive linemen at sort of pressing to the line of scrimmage to basically then be able to read and react, which was allowing Texas Tech sort of hang back its linebackers to cut off the plays on some of those concepts. And then when the run game's not going to be there, that's when ASU is going to need to rely on a quarterback to hit on some of these throws that were just missed. And some of them were not easy throws, but others were there for him. And then they had some bad luck. I guess Jake Smith said that the sun got in his eye on the one where he was sort of backpedaling. That was a missed big play opportunity. But there were multiple occasions where the ball came out late from Leavitt. Watching from the press box, you can kind of see route development down the field that you can't see on TV. There were open guys that he missed or was late to get the ball to. Shimon Mateer on the play action 4th and 1 shot that they went down the field. ASU drew a pass interference on that, but that ball could have come out way earlier, maybe even could have been a touchdown. And there were shorter throws, little slants, out routes that also were not accurate enough. So Sam Levitt's going to have to get better and be better. He is a freshman quarterback. This was a difficult setting for him to play in, particularly when you didn't have the run game that you wanted to have if you're the Sun Devils, and then the discipline issues that were affecting the team. It's hard to sort of contain that so that that doesn't have some sort of a carryover effect to execution on the offensive side.
And talking to Cam Scadaboo, as we just did after the game, he said that the way they go about maybe not letting that rhythm, he had an off game today, affect him going forward, and they'll take the bye week to kind of help him try and clear his head, because Scadaboo and that entire team knows that he's a good football player. But another thing Scadaboo said in regards to their season, just because of how it's broken up, 4 games by 4 games by, he thinks of it as 3 separate seasons. So this first season, as they head into a bye next week, they're 3-1. So this bye week, and then they have their home Big 12 opener against Kansas. Does this game and kind of the struggles they faced in it have any major implications or anything to be super worried about going into the future?
I think I posted this before the game. I said I think ASU is more likely than not to have a losing record in the Big 12. Like, this wasn't a team that looked to me to be in the upper echelon of the Big 12 even before this game. Didn't necessarily expect some of the things that happened today to unfold the way that they did. They were getting a little bit healthier, but even with that being the case, in their secondary in particular, with some of the, like, LT Welch missing this game, with Cole Martin not being able to play for the rest of the season, they're very thin at nickel, at cornerback, and then they had those guys in the secondary playing 80-something snaps in the game, and you could tell that the defense was worn out by the time you got to the fourth quarter. And there needs to be better harmony between your offense and your defense. ASU's top, like, 4th, I think, in time of possession coming into this game. And that's because against Mississippi State and some of their earlier action, they were able to run the football successfully, to make the game a little bit easier on Sam Levitt, to not keep their secondary players on the field quite so much, or even their guys up front, because Jacob Kangaika didn't play in this game. Tate Rami's not playing. Jordan Crook's coming off of an injury. But they are getting healthier, and I think the bye week's going to help them with that. And also the experience of this is going to help them into the future. For anybody who would be sort of concerned about Sam Levitt, I would say, look, ASU was not going to win the Big 12. There's tougher games that are out there. Kansas State on the road, Oklahoma State on the road. They got to play Utah still, right? So it's going to be difficult. But should ASU be playing a senior quarterback when you're trying to still grow and develop as a team, and also Levitt's gives you a lot from a buy-in. He's somebody that the players kind of rally around, and he resonates with them. He's got a toughness element. There's so many sort of characteristics that are box checkers for him, but he's also a rookie quarterback playing in this sort of environment for the first time, and there's a lot that he's going to have to learn from, quickly grow and get better at, and we're going to see how that process unfolds.
Indeed, we will see. We'll have you covered through the bye week as ASU looks to kind of reset, and then, of course, that big game against Kansas from Tempe. But until then, I'm Gabby Chernoff, Chris Cartman from Lubbock, Texas for Sun Devil Source.